Welcome to the Dysfunction Junkies podcast. We may not have seen it all, but we've seen enough. And now, here are your hosts, Chrisy and Kerry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back, junkies. I'm Kerry.
And I'm Chrisy.
So last episode, we talked about the start of the holidays and the seasons and the family get-together. So we thought it would be a good time to talk about the different dynamics that Chrissy's family and my family had growing up and how this kind of affected us. And so my family, we did not talk about things. We suppressed it. And I always say the best way to describe my family was we didn't talk about the elephant in the room.
Right.
Chrisy, what did you do?
Well, we talked about the elephant and the whole zoo. We normalized everything.
Right.
So if there was some sort of dysfunction happening, it's normal.
Yeah.
So we talk about it.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not putting it in correct context.
Right.
Totally, facing it and trying to deal with it in an appropriate manner.
Right.
It's just normal. So that's where it ends.
Yeah.
This is normal.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends.
We didn't talk about it.
And again, these are not clinical terms, I don't think.
Right. These are not in the
normalizing.
DSM, you know.
No, Kerry's going to talk about that. I had no idea what the heck she said. She said,
The DSM is a diagnostic statistical manual for mental disorders,
Those
you
are
know.
big
So,
words,
but
big
again,
words.
that's just because I majored in psychology in school.
Nice.
So, but yeah,
Thank
these
God.
are not technical terms. These are the terms we use to describe our life and our family. So,
Yes, we're
no
just-
clinical correct terminology
no,
here, probably.
we are not therapists. We are not bound by any of those rules and laws. Just trying to explain our feelings and
Right.
what was happening to us.
And this is kind of why this podcast came to be, because, as Chrisy and I reconnected, we were talking about life and families and the things that we were going through. And we realized that, a lot of this stemmed from our childhood traumas and how our families dealt with things and how we both in our own way kind of rebelled against that. So for me, especially, because my family has taken the art of don't talk about the elephant in the room. I mean, they've got it down pat. But I found myself a lot of times talking about things. I would say something to my family like, what are we doing? Or this isn't right or whatever. And, it was quite upsetting to the rest of the family. I wasn't following the rules.
Don't break out of the rules.
I know. They're like, Kerry, you don't talk about this. We might go say a rosary about it, but we're not going to talk about it.
Oh boy, now I'm having another flashback. That's for another episode.
So-
And I do think you're exactly right, how we came together on this.
Yes.
Because I think we were experiencing some very similar situations. And when we use the word trauma,
Yes.
yes, these things helped make us probably who we are,
Yes.
I'm sure. A lot of people have had these same type of events and situations. But the whole thing was some of these events and situations were very similar for us.
Yes.
The thing that really caught both of our attention with each other,
Yeah.
and that we found so entertaining to talk to each other about it, was the way we were taught to
Deal with
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
And we definitely realized they were two different
Right.
approaches.
Equally dysfunctional, but
Sure.
two different approaches.
Absolutely. Gotta love it.
So, yeah. So just little things growing up. If my family I'm trying to even think of a good example of something, but gosh, I don't know. Do you
Yes.
have tell me some off the top of your head.
I can talk to you about normalizing some of the things that I was exposed to very early on. Have a grandfather who was a steel mill worker. Was born here, but then went back to Italy and lived there early on for quite a few years. Then came back here, and he liked to drink.
Yeah.
And I think that a steel worker earned their money a very hard way.
Right.
That was very hard work. I can't even imagine. And It was very typical for them to stop off at the local drinking holes that were strategically situated near steel mills for their workers to come in and
kick some back before they went back home.
Before they got home.
Mm-hmm.
And so early on, it was very much understood for me when I would be left to be watched by my grandfather and grandmother. I don't know that they were watching me so much as I was watching what the hell was going on with them. But my understanding is that even though my grandfather was no longer working in the mill by the time I was little, he had that same schedule.
Oh, his routine.
His routine.
Yes.
So in the morning when he was up, he was wonderful.
Yes.
Lovely guy.
Yes.
Very nice. Everything was nice and calm. Around lunchtime, it's time for Grandpa to leave.
Oh.
So he was getting ready to go to one of his regular watering holes.
Okay.
That was how his lunch was spent. My understanding being little was not where he was going and what was happening there, but that I knew when he came back, there was going to be a different person coming back.
Oy vey.
So, that's funny you say that because that's one of his words he used to say.
I'm channeling your grandfather.
You are channeling. But I knew that the guy was going to come back in a lousy mood and be not nice to Grandma.
Oh.
And so I do remember he'd have his coat and his hat on and ready to go out the door. I would make him kiss Grandma goodbye.
Aw.
I don't know. And I knew, because I knew it was going to be a different situation. And when he came back, he was unpleasant.
Right.
And angry and saying horrible things to her. And my grandmother would do biting of the hand at him, a lot of hand gesturing.
Yeah.
And not nice words, I suppose.
But this was all normal and everyone accepted it. And
it was just like, okay, Grandpa wakes up, good, goes out for lunch, comes back, not so good, takes a nap, back to good usually.
Oh,
or at least halfway decent.
Until the next round.
Yeah. But if you try to tell anybody in my family, especially those directly beneath him in the family chain that Gramps probably had a definition of alcoholism issues. No.
Oh, no.
Not at all. No, he liked to drink. He worked hard.
He earned it.
He earned it. That's right.
That's right. We said that at the same time.
Isn't it funny how we earn things like that?
Yep,
we earn our right to drink.
Yes.
Which, hey, don't get me wrong. I am no prude. I've sometimes in the past have felt I've earned my right to have a little fun too. So, but unfortunately, in my opinion, only my opinion, the way those drinking things were happening, it wasn't about having fun.
No,
it was just part of what they knew.
Right. So in my family, we did have a family member that partaked in the drink, okay? Mm-hmm. And in one of those episodes where this particular family member was kicking it back as early as 9 a.m,
oh wow,
they had to take me to softball practice. And I was probably maybe 8th grade. So I don't know, how old is that? Like 14-ish or whatever?
Yeah, 13.
Yeah, 14. So they took me to baseball practice, and my parents were out of town. I think this particular person was watching me while they were out of town, and the baseball field was maybe 3 miles from the house. So we went to baseball practice, and I think this family member was, tipping it back the whole time while I was at practice.
Oh boy.
In the car at the parking lot. So whenever practice was over, I was like, okay, we can go home. And they said to me, I'm really sleepy. Why don't you drive? Again, I was like 8th grade. Did not have a driver's license. And other than driving the family pickup truck in a field to pick up hay, because again, grew up out in the country kind of a thing, slow, stop, go while we were picking hay up on the field. I'd never been driven a car, never been on the road with a car, but yet they wanted me to drive home. And I realize now it's because they were smashing drunk at 10 o'clock in the morning whenever we had to come home. But so I think I got maybe 2 blocks on the main road, and I was terrified I was going to get pulled over by a cop. And so I stopped and I made this person drive the rest of the way because I was afraid of getting in trouble. But I didn't talk about it. Never talked about it to the rest of the family or whatever, because we don't talk about things. So yeah. But I skipped going to practice the rest of the week when that person was watching me because I was terrified that I was going to have to drive home.
Well, listening to you, I would have to sit here and wonder, first of all, is it okay that they recognized, outside the fact they were doing something horrible, which is drinking when they were drinking, and drinking when they had somebody in their care?
Yeah. A minor.
A child.
A child, yeah. And they were trying to put them in the driver's seat.
But the fact that they recognized they shouldn't drive,
Yes,
I guess
know.
I'm
was
somewhat
kind of good.
amazed.
Yeah.
A little bit. But does not, it makes it, it's still very terrifying to think about.
It was.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't talk about it because I knew in my family there was no use in going to mom and dad and saying, hey, so-and-so was tipping back and they made me drive home. Like, because all that would have been done was like, well, you're safe. The answer, I'm sure, would have been, you're home safe now, so it's okay. And moved on. That would have been how they would have handled it, because we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to address it.
Right.
Say a rosary.
I wonder, my family probably would have been like, well, what kind of car did you
Did you put your seatbelt on?
Well, yeah. I mean, that wasn't even a thing at that age yet, completely. But they're probably like, what do you think? How'd you do?
Yeah.
Do you think did you get some practice in early, Chrisy?
Right.
Hey, all right. Did they sleep it off while you drove, or were they able to help you get directions? So, wow. That's a tough one to think about.
Yeah.
But, normalizing was, and it's an odd thing, because until you and I started talking, I never really had a definition of what exactly was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I knew it wasn't your same experience.
Right.
The experiences were there.
Yeah.
The dealing with
how we dealt
not,
with it different.
Yes,
very different.
Very different.
And that's kind of what started a little bit of divide for me as I got older and started really recognizing this because of how I always dealt with things. I was kind of going against the rules on it, and so my nickname in the family is the sheriff, because I'm the one who will be like, wait, stop, that's not right, that we shouldn't do it that way, or trying to like bring control and talk about it. And the rest of the family is like, hey, what are you doing? You can't talk about this or whatever. So yeah, they call me the sheriff, but it has created some problems because I've been very vocal, which is the exact opposite of what they want to do. And my family, because of this, no response is like a deafening response. So if they don't agree with something that you're doing, you'll get the silent treatment. Like there'll be no response. So and that's, again, it's just caused a lot of problems growing up, because now there's like a little divide. Because I talk about things. I went against the grain.
Yeah, you sure did.
I did. I will probably get the no response when they listen to these episodes, because
no response.
I'm talking about the elephants.
What are you talking about? And me too. Well, I would have to say that, the whole thing with normalizing it is, I guess the only thing I would be accused of at this point is saying it's not normal.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been treated as such.
Right.
But what do you do with a person of that generation?
Yeah.
And, it's just, eventually I think they took his license off of him because he was older and he was still going to the watering hole.
Oh, geez.
And he would just start running into things with his car and leave.
Oy.
So, that just was not going to stand anymore. So I think a lot of, storytelling had to go on the shoulders of my parent, who had to deal with that directly to try and make them understand that they just their license wasn't going to be renewed anymore, and we had to get rid of the car. Which I think a lot of people with parents, older parents who are reaching that point, have had an issue making their parents understand that there's just a time to say no more.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my family to try to say no more.
Well, you're sitting there waiting for it, and I'm the one that said, you know what? No more. Bye. I'm out.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's so true.
Yes.
So also with that, all like just how my family dealt with things is like I said, I'm really good about trying to give, and we talked about this once before, but like I will give people a chance. Sometimes I give them a pass, which is not always good, but when I'm done, I'm done. And sometimes it takes me a while to get there, but boy, when I'm done, I'm done. And that's where I say healthy boundaries. And that was probably one of the best things I did for myself when I realized that it's okay to have people in your life, whether it's a friend, a coworker, a family member, that when you realize this is not healthy, that you can take a step back and say, I don't need to have you part of my life every day, whether you're family or blood or not, or whether you're a coworker. Like, I can be cordial, but I can draw the line. But it took me 50 years to get here.
Right. Well, we were both, I'm sure, brought up with the same philosophy, and maybe I've said it before, but we've talked about it quite a bit, that saying that they try to throw at you, they're family. You don't have to like them, but you have to love them.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Love is a very strong, and it needs to be a very earned emotion from somebody.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it, earned.
Yes, you have to earn that. And the fact that that line is thrown out there so much that, why do I have to, we share similar bloodline DNA or whatever. Not exactly. And I'm guessing the person who was getting screwed over by family isn't the one that brought that line up first. Probably the one that was acting like an idiot.
Right.
Say, hey, you don't have to like me right now, but you gotta love me. How do you like me now? How do you like me now? I don't like you. I don't love you. Get the hell away from me.
Exactly.
And a lot of arguments have come from my mom is a big disciple of that way of thinking.
Yes.
She has, but she's taken it even further where, it's just love with her. She just, I have to love. This is what I've been programmed to do my whole life. Oh, that's true. Yeah. I have to love no matter what.
Yeah.
So, other things that the alcoholism, drinking is tough. And my grandmother, I think, had probably a definitely diagnosis of depression if she was ever actually treated for that.
Right.
But again, back then, 40 plus years ago, they didn't really treat for that.
The alcohol was the treatment.
Right. Well, she didn't drink. The husband was dealing with that. And but that was another thing. Grandma's sad. Grandma's, Grandpa just totally said horrible things, and she's going to be depressed for a while. But again, we didn't suppress it. Right. We just said, this is going to happen.
Right.
We're going to all sit down for dinner, and Grandpa's going to say horrible things about people, and that's just the way it is.
Right.
It's normal. It's normal.
I had a family member, one of my parents, relatives, family member that had committed suicide, and they wouldn't talk about it. It was just like, oh, so-and-so passed away. But like, it was somehow, I remember hearing probably, through a wall or something of that, how they committed suicide and that it was a committed suicide, but no one would talk about it. Don't talk about it. We went to the funeral. We did all, but don't talk about it. And it was kind of, it was like, we should have talked about it. We should have talked about that. But in any ways, it was just, it was sad now looking back at that, because it was an opportunity where we could have had a learning experience. We could have had more empathy. We could have more empathy for the rest of the family that was directly related to that person. But no, we just didn't talk about it. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, those experiences are like not talking about it. Therefore, you can't sort of try to help each other.
Right.
You can't learn from it. And then talking about it to the point where you just say it's just normal.
Right.
There's no reason to dive into it any further.
Yeah.
Because it's, this is normal.
Right.
There's nothing else to be said.
Right.
Except it. So you're losing out on that opportunity to learn from it and help. Yeah. Help things.
And there was also a part of because of we didn't talk about things, there was not accepting any responsibility for behavior. So now, a common term that's used nowadays is gaslighting. And it's probably one of my favorite words. People around me probably are sick and tired of me saying it but I can understand what gaslighting is, because in a way that's kind of what I grew up with. There was a lot of that didn't really happen, or it didn't really happen that way, or we're just going to be quiet, we're not going to react to it, we're going to be dismissive of your feelings, and so it's just crazy to think about just the environment of how I grew up and where I've come now. So to see the growth in that, but it's hard, especially when you're the kind of the outcast of the family, differently because you're having these different thoughts and different ways of dealing with things.
Right.
So,
well, I've had an experience with some major life-changing events with family members in my dynamic. And it seems that all these things that we dealt with younger, the dysfunction type family gatherings, family personalities, what we had to endure to spend time together.
yeah.
You had to come into the situation of the holiday or the weekend or the dinner or a wedding, and you had to understand what to expect, and you had to accept what you were going to see
that's
and
true.
experience. You just look,
Yeah.
check your personal feelings at the door. This is what's going to happen. And because some certain situations have arose over the last few years that all of a sudden now we're really talking about it. Not that we didn't talk about it then, but now the question as to why we put up with it has come up. Why did we do? And I feel a little offended by that question. I'm not the one that brought that question into the mix.
Right.
I knew why we put up with it.
Yeah.
Because who the hell else was going to take us at that point? There's a point in your life where you're sort of stuck with these people. So survival. This is my tribe right now.
Oh.
So I got to go along with this.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you get to meet other people.
Yep.
Hopefully a better class of citizens. And you realize that... You know, why? I know why.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting here asking why? That's a waste of time.
Yeah.
How about why you don't get the hell away from me? You know, I don't want to talk about why now. Jesus Christ, I put that in the past. Now we're going to sit here and chit-chat about it. We were sitting there talking about it all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
You know? I mean, come on. Why? Why? Why did I put up with this?
Survival. That is the best word to sum that all up, because now when I look back at things, I think how much of it was survival for me. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a kid and you're a teenager, and not with you, because I know you were way more, you were less self-absorbed than I. But my whole thing of survival was, Mom and Dad, buy me whatever I want. You want me to believe that Grandpa being a shithead at Christmas and Thanksgiving and making Grandma feel bad is okay, and that's just the way it's going to be? Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to get myself everything I need here. I've got a good setup. Why am I going to rock that boat? No way. Yes, I am a horrible person,
No,
everybody.
you're not horrible.
Well, I mean, I admit it. I'm not sitting here asking why was I a horrible person. I'm telling you, yes, I was a horrible person and very self-centered and was going to tolerate all your flippin' lousy bullshit just to get what I wanted. Yes.
But it was all survival. And it was, again, the techniques that we learned and developed to survive. You from your family normalizing things, and me from my family suppressing things and not talking about things. We had to each come up with our own ways to survive and move forward and to become the highly functional people we are today.
Oh, very functional. The only thing I think I've learned in my life is that my tolerance level is even lower than it's ever been.
Oh, yeah, amen to that.
But I think that's okay.
It is.
Because if anything, you're supposed to say, not liking you, but loving you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not even going to do that.
No.
Gotta
Healthy
go.
boundaries.
Healthy boundaries.
boundaries.
Bye.
Well, this will be good because this is definitely going to give people some insight as we talk about things in future episodes and everything that, they'll be able to understand some of this when we talk about the elephant in the room or normalizing or suppressing. Because, again, they're maybe not the Wikipedia definition of these, but it's how we describe it. So this was good to have this conversation going into our future podcast.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you don't recognize it in yourself, in your situation, which I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
You're going to be completely overwhelmed, I think, at the idea of how you recognize this in other people's.
Yeah.
And why it kind of makes them who they are.
Yes.
But it's a good thing.
Yeah.
As horrible as these things are.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that whole cliche thing, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I think it does help shape you in a good way if you're able to process it in a good way.
This is true. My mom used to always say, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Oh, that was like nails on the chalkboard for me growing up. But I see the light of that. But yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I think I'm on the better now. So that's good.
You are at a good place. I'm of the opinion that it's going to get worse and then it's going to get even worse. And it's going to get even worse. It might improve just like a hair, and then it's going to get really bad again. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm throwing no hope out there for you people.
That's why we yin and yang, because I always do somehow, again, it's how I grew up with things, trying to find the good in people, trying to find a good of something to just give me some way to get through into the next step. So
yes, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But.
So maybe on our Facebook page, we'll kind of do a little poll. We'll see if people were more like your family in the normalizing, or if they were like my family and the suppressing and don't talk to the elephant in the room. Or maybe we'll just put an other that they didn't relate to that and they had their own style. And if you had your own style, comment on Facebook, and so that way we can see.
I would love to know.
Love to hear it.
I have a hard time. I'm almost terrified to think that there's
another
horrible ways to deal with things. But I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there are.
And maybe you guys listening to this didn't realize that that's one of those ways was the way your family approached things. But chances are that is the way. And remember, this is a vicious cycle, people.
It is.
Because that's the way they were taught to handle it, too.
Exactly. 100%. So, and again, we're not licensed therapists. You know, this is just us dealing with our own childhood traumas and everything that we've dealt with in our life. And this is our safe space here. We hope it's your safe space, that you can listen to this and, you know, maybe have your own little therapy as you're listening, and like our therapy is talking to each other. So
I think you're selling yourself short. The fact that you knew the name of those letters with that, what is that, a book, or it's a list of something? Somebody who spent a lot of time making up this stuff to
my
follow.
College education that I paid for with no help from anybody, which again, that'll be another podcast episode on that. But yeah, it paid off because I know what a DSM is.
Wow. And my parents paid for a little bit of mine. And I can't tell you what they got for their money, but I got a degree.
They have a daughter who's a podcaster now.
Yeah. Right. Sorry, Mom, I didn't become that famous singer you thought I was going to become. But.
So, alrighty. Well, wherever you're listening to this podcast from, whatever your streaming device is, we'd really appreciate if you could give us a 5-star review. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page. You can even go to our website, and it's dysfunctionjunkies.buzzsprout.com. Learn a little bit more about us, and we'll look forward to having another episode coming to you next week.
Yes.
All right. Talk to you later, all. Bye.
Bye-bye.